What's up, guys? It's Ben and Parts here. Welcome back to yet another episode of this Cryptid series, where we break down cryptids, their sightings, their possibilities, what they could or couldn't be, and if they could be real or not. And today we have a fascinating entry, and an entry that you might think is kind of comic, but there's very little really that's comedic about this entry, because the hoop snake, even its name sounds funny, is not really that funny at all, because it's an absolutely deadly lumberjack cryptid, as described in Fearsome Critters by Henry H. Treon, a book that I can't recommend enough. You will soon see, as you read this book, or as you listen to my video, that the hoop snake, while it might sound very comedic, is definitely nothing to play with. So, what is the hoop snake? It's described openly in the book as a well-known menace, and its existence, according to the book, is thoroughly established by numerous reports from highly credible parties, unquote. Apparently, it has the same characteristics in all the regions of America that it's in. It's not mentioned what specific regions it's in, but it's generally meant to be and assumed to be across the United States and Canada. It tucks its tail into its mouth and rolls at incredible speed in pursuit of its prey, or even a quote fancied enemy. In other words, even someone who is perceived as prey or something. And it's described with the word fortunately as not duplicated by any other member of the animal kingdom. And you might think, oh, well, it just rolls after me. What's it going to do? Roll me to death? Not quite. The tail of the hoop snake ends in a stinger that has venom so powerful that even the tiniest dose will make the huge formidable hodag, or formidable lumberjack cryptid in and of itself, turn green, swell up, and die inside of an hour. Yes, the hodag, which I've done a video of on my channel before, that terrifying cryptid that can very rarely be brought down by anyone, is huge, physically imposing, and has incredibly thick skin, can be brought down by this hoop snake, just by the tiniest little bit of its venom. And because of this, it's said that, quote, folks wise in Wood's law are wary of this circular engine of destruction. It's described as an engine of destruction. And even though it only travels on one cylinder, this one cylinder is absolutely all it needs to completely obliterate you once it's come up to you. And you might think, oh, okay, it's going to roll after me. Maybe it'll roll at the speed of an old cartwheel, right? Maybe it'll roll at the speed of an 18th century cartwheel, a 19th century car. I can get away. Not so, because the speed is described as nothing short of remarkable. Apparently, a full-grown jackrabbit is mere pie for this snake, because a mature hoop snake, when it hoops, has a diameter of 1.5923 feet, and it's been clocked after being enticed onto what was called a cleverly designed rolling metered platform, going at 1,056 rotations per minute. In other words, a car-like speed, a modern car speed of 60 miles an hour. And it said that the only way to outrun this hoop snake, if it's chasing after you, is to climb over a fence. Because when you're on the regular straight and narrow, so to speak, even though this snake certainly isn't, when you're on the regular straight and narrow, one of the only ways to get away from this snake is to jump over a fence or over some kind of high object, because the snake will have to uncurl to either slither over the top of the object, or if it's got gaps within it, to slither under it. So you can never really stop this snake unless you maybe shoot at it, or use some kind of heavy weapon against it, or maybe use some kind of mallet against it. I don't know. It's not specifically mentioned what can kill it, but all you can really fundamentally do is slow it down. And there are meant to have been many cases of people who have died from this snake stinging them. It's said in this book that a hoop snake even stung one of the peavey handles of Paul Bunyan, the mythical giant lumberjack. And apparently this handle was a sizable stick to start with. So in other words, it just stung a stick, but the venom swelled the stick up, an inanimate stick, so greatly that Paul had to cut it up into 946 cords of wood just to get it back down to size. And then, quote, the dang stuff wouldn't burn, just lay in the stove and hissed. So in other words, this was an inanimate stick, and it swelled up. Can you imagine what it would have done to a human? And I'm given the impression that even though Paul Bunyan was presented as this kind of mythical, indomitable person whose dragging tool actually created the Grand Canyon, even he would probably have been hopping around with a swelled up toe, screaming after this hoop snake attacked him. Or maybe worse, maybe he would have been delirious, maybe he would have been killed. There aren't any specific mentions in any of the literature of a hoop snake actually killing a person that I can see, but you have to think, is that because so many people have actually been killed by this hoop snake that we don't see many accounts of it? Obviously, Paul Bunyan was a folktale, it wasn't a real person. But you have to wonder, was this based on some kind of real event? Was some kind of giant snake seen? Did something maybe happen to somebody to create this rumour, this myth, this legend? Which gets me on to the next topic, or rather the conclusion of the video. What is this hoop snake? Well, I think it's possible it could be a real creature. Stranger things have happened, but that its real threat level has been greatly outspoken by folktales. One person passes another thing on to another person, people tell story after story after story, and it gets elaborated over time. Of course, the other much more simple explanation is that, oh, it's just a hoax, there's nothing in it. But that's a very asinine thing to say. Have you not seen the beautiful depths of this world, even literally? Have you not seen that the coelacanth was caught in South Africa 65 million years after it was supposed to be extinct, and it's thriving today when everyone thought it was dead? If the coelacanth, a giant fish from the dinosaur era, can survive, and other things certainly can. The mountain gorilla was once thought to be a total hoax until Oscar van Beuven killed one and displayed it in Europe, and then everyone was like, oh, it's not a hoax. And that annoys me so much, because when the lamestream media, or lamestream science, so-called, says that something is real, everyone jumps and says, it's real, and if you don't believe in it, you're backward. And then the moment that theory is disproven by those same scientists, they once again say, that's not real, and if you believe in it, you're stupid. And it's like, these people who immediately debunk everything, the Philip Classes of the world, and to some extent the Jacques Valleys of the world, they don't seem to appreciate the depths of the world physically, in terms of its creations, in terms of its spirituality. So I think it's very possible that this hoop snake indeed exists in some form, although I severely doubt it's in the form talked about. But what do you guys think? Do any of your relatives have stories they've passed down? Have any of you seen it? Do you know of anyone who has? Please post those in the comments section, because they always create a fascinating dialogue, and I get many more of those than you think I do. And stay tuned for the next episode.